awkwardly to a guy who can also make really cool shots, D'Angelo Russell. I've been thinking about him a lot lately, and essentially, um, the crux of this situation with D'Lo. And by the way, fun event coming up for you guys later this week. I'm going to be doing a home and home with the Kamenetsky brothers over there at Locked On Lakers. They'll do an episode here, and I'll do an episode there. Um, I I know mine is going to be live. Theirs wasn't live the last time around. So, but look forward to that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And the reason I mentioned them is because they have completely fairly made the point that the Lakers can't simply just move D'Angelo Russell's deal. They can't simply just get off of D'Lo's deal and move on. They do need to bring in not just NBA talent that would upgrade their roster, but also importantly, they would need his to replace his creativity on the ball. And I think that's fair. That's a fair point to make. And with that in mind, and given the makeup of the roster, and given like the Lakers' own relationship with D'Angelo Russell, where like all offseason they have basically been trying to trade this guy. They were trying to trade him at the deadline. They don't want to be in the D'Angelo Russell business anymore. JJ Redick has still not mentioned D'Angelo Russell in any kind of a setting since being hired as head coach of the Lakers. They are done. That relationship is it's at that stage where, everybody sees them out in public and they're like, man, they just got to pull the plug. And the problem is that, because the Lakers need D'Angelo Russell's production, they are forced to kind of live with that kind of awkward relationship. And I think going into next year, I would like to start divesting from the D'Angelo Russell experience even before I eventually trade the guy. And I think I want to bring D'Angelo Russell off of the bench. I want to start Austin, and whether it's Gabe or Max that you start next to Austin, if you want Austin to be more of a shooting guard and you want a point of attack defender in Gabe out there, cool, you could do that. If you want Austin to be your kind of LeBron James point guard, where AD is also operating from a hub or as the hub of the offense, then I think you can get away with having Max out there to offer a little bit more athleticism and a little bit more length on the perimeter there. So I'd be fine with that. And then you allow D'Lo to just kind of have his way with opposing bench lineups and give him the keys to that second unit, whether you sub out LeBron James first and then bring in D'Lo, or you sub out Austin first, and you bring in D'Lo to be able to get him. I still think D'Lo should probably play 25, 30 minutes a night. I still think that he can still be a big part of your rotation. But the problem that the Lakers are going to run into now that it looks like they're going to be going into the season with D'Angelo Russell, the problem they're going to run into is that when they trade him, they're going to have to completely rethink their rotation, their opening lineups, maybe even their closing lineups. And I just think if eventually you're going to trade this guy this season, and that's how the Lakers are basically approaching this year, I'm told. If that is the case, then you should make it as painless a band-aid to rip off as you can possibly make it, and I don't think you can do that. You're basically putting duct tape directly onto the skin if you're starting D'Lo and he's playing 30 plus minutes a night and he's closing games. Like if you're doing all of that, by the time you trade him, it's going to be super tough to figure out everything on the fly for any coach, let alone a rookie one. So I think that, with going into next year, as they're designing out what the team is going to look like, I think D'Lo should be a part of the second unit. You can still play him some alongside Austin. You can still play him some alongside LeBron and obviously alongside Anthony Davis. Um, but I think, you need to make it as painless as possible whenever that time comes that you're trading him to make whatever upgrade that you need to make. And look, like the thing with Austin, and at some point he's probably Austin is going to be the next player that I do the season re-preview thing with. The thing with Austin is that, like, to this point in his career, I don't think the Lakers know enough about him. They know he's a gamer. They know, like, they love him as a guy, but I don't think they know what position he plays. I don't think they know what type of player you need to play next to him. I don't think they know, like, they just, he's too far into a season, and there is still too much that is unknown about him. And I think you kind of just have to throw him into the deep end here, make him your point guard on opening night, and see if he can figure it out. And I know last year it didn't look that great. I would argue that it didn't look that great because he was coming off of FIBA play. This year, that isn't a thing. I would like to see him be the opening night point guard. I would like him to play 30, 35 minutes a night, in that range. And that doesn't mean that every minute that he's on the court, he has to be the point guard. And also, by the way, he's going to be the point guard in the way that, guys can be a point guard while LeBron is also on the court and while you're also having Anthony Davis operate as your hub. I just think, like, I made this point in the lounge Slack, and Raj's pushback was that there isn't enough volume 3-point shooting on that roster. There isn't enough offense necessarily on that roster. And I'm like, you have LeBron, you have Anthony Davis, you're probably going to be starting Rui, you have Austin Reaves. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that team doesn't, that lineup doesn't need D'Angelo Russell's offense. It shouldn't. Give me a guy in Max who can who can defend and also knock down threes. Give me a guy like Gabe. If you don't think Austin Reaves is a point guard, which Miles, apparently my son, is messaging me from his crib saying that Reaves is not a point guard, man. Stop it. That's pretty incredible that a 1-year-old, I know he's almost 2, but he's able to comment on a YouTube video live. I look, if you don't think Reaves is a point guard, fine, then you got to start Gabe. But I think the more that they lean on and rely on D'Angelo Russell, the tougher it makes him to trade him. And, like, essentially the problem that the Lakers keep on running into when they are trying to trade D'Angelo Russell is that they need Russell a lot more than the rest of the league needs or is interested in D'Angelo Russell. And that makes it really complicated in trying to figure out what you bring back for the guy. And I think if you bring him off of your bench and you start the season by relying on him less than you did last year, it makes it that much easier, and it honestly gives you a little bit more leverage in those talks, to be able to move D'Angelo Russell. And my last point on this, and I'm this is going to be, how, like, every offseason or every season I have that annoying point that you guys just keep on yelling at me to stop bringing it up. I think this is going to be that point. I apologize in advance, but my last point on this is that the Lakers want to carry themselves as one of those franchises that has a culture, right? Like, the Miami Heat, right, on their jerseys last year said Heat culture, and then they had that stupid little sentence in the middle of their paint that said whatever it was that said. I if if the Lakers really believe in their culture or believe that they can build that kind of culture, it needs to start with somebody like D'Angelo Russell, who you don't even really care about anyway. Like, it, all right, D'Lo, here's where you tell us what you're about. You want to, like, this is the other thing too, is that I think sixth man is the kind of role that D'Lo is gonna have to eventually buy into if he ever wants to be on a championship level team. Sometimes he closes games if he's playing really well. Sometimes he doesn't. and he doesn't start because his defense is just kind of that tough to accept. So, like, all right, D'Lo, if you're really invested in being a Laker here moving forward, you're going to come off of the bench, and how well you accept that role is going to indicate to us whether or not we should continue to extend this relationship between you and us. And if you mope, cool. As soon as we can, we will get you out of here, and we will find somebody who is willing to do whatever it takes to win, because that is the point here. It should be the point. I understand somebody like D'Angelo Russell being stubborn and believing that he is a starter, because in terms of just raw talent, I probably agree with him. But the problem is, it's not just about talent. Like, we just saw this with Team USA, where Derek White had a real role on that team. Drew Holiday wasn't the most talented player, but clearly needed to be out there in key moments. Fit matters, buy-in matters, roles matter. And I think for D'Angelo Russell, it's come time at this point in his career where he needs to be able to prove to the Lakers and to the rest of the league that he is willing to do whatever it takes to uh, win, to buy into culture. And this would be one of those moments where if he is willing to do this and he does buy into that, awesome. The Lakers are a better team. If he isn't willing to do that, awesome. He's going to Orlando or something like that.